2 different artists, 2 different artworks, 1 hour, and 1 pool of images. Monika is a freelance artist with a passion for both learning and teaching. Her specialty is fantastic creatures and hyper-realism. And I'm Abbey, a creative compositor who specializes in portraits with a surreal and morbid twist. Both Monika and I work from the same collection of resources found on Envato Elements, where you can get unlimited downloads of graphics, photos, and fonts, millions of creative digital assets with simple commercial licensing. Monika, you're up first.
Thanks, Abbey. Hello, everyone. My name is Monika Zagrobelna, and I show you how I created my dark fantasy photo manipulation using these items. First, I removed the background from my main character, the black horse, and placed it into the file with all the backgrounds that I liked. Then I switched to them one by one to see which one fits the perspective and the lighting on the horse the best. I cropped the image for a stronger composition and added parts of the other backgrounds to the mix. I like the fern in this photo, the rocks in this one, and the flowers from this photo. There are 2 moth-related items in the collection, so I decided to make it the theme of my artwork. Adding moth wings to my horse will fit the dark fantasy theme very nicely. The other moth-related item is not an image. It's a 3D model that I can rotate to create different views and then download each view as a separate image using my Envato Elements subscription. I've created 5 moth images this way and added them to my file to fill the space on the right. Then I turned them into fireflies. Even dark fantasy needs some light, and I thought little glowing spots would look great on this dark background. I used the layer style panel for this purpose. With all the main parts of the composition in place, I adjusted the colors and shadows. Instead of simply darkening the whole image, I changed the hue and desaturated it slightly to make all the tones more similar to each other. Still, I tried to keep the main tone warm to create a contrast between it and the cold shadows. I wanted a dark effect, but I didn't want the image to be simply black and white, with no hint of color. The whole image looked pretty dull at this point, so I added some backlight behind the horse. To justify its presence, I placed a bright part of another background in this area. I liked that image from the start, but it seemed too bright to me. I'm happy I found a place for it in my artwork. To unify the separate parts of the composition, I added some mist here and there. I used the smoke brushes for this purpose. I tried to keep the mist subtle and yet visibly present. Mist can be a powerful effect, but it's also easy to make it look fake. Lower opacity is the way to go. Because I added some strong light in the back earlier, now I had to illuminate the trees with rim light. The shader brushes from my collection worked perfectly here. I used the ones with a hard edge on one side and a texture on the other side. These bright edges made all the elements look more like parts of the whole scene. I added a few layers of these strokes to control their opacity individually. Just like with mist, this effect is easy to overdo and has to be subtle in order to work. Next, I added more light adjustments. I didn't want the horse to be the darkest element in the scene, so I made the other shadows in the front darker. I made sure to keep these adjustments selective. The bright areas were supposed to stay bright to keep the contrast high. To make the mist more detailed, I added one of the sky overlays from the collection. I made this effect subtle, but I think it unified the scene a little bit more. I like the glowing fireflies, but I felt the scene still needed more glowing accents. I used one of the snow overlays and made it glow. Then I removed the biggest snowflakes, leaving only the smallest sparkles. I also drew a couple of sparkles manually. Technically, I could have drawn all the sparkles myself, but I like the randomness of the snowflakes in the overlay. Finally, I added adjustments to the whole image. Some noise and some blur, and a vignette darkening the edges. Just the normal boring stuff that I always add at the end. And that would be all from me. It's your turn, Abbey.
Just like Monika, I'm using the same exact images. I always start things off with some image extracting using my favorite technique, the pen tool, and then select and mask, where I let the refine edge tool do most of the heavy lifting. I can then finish up and perfect the mask with some good old hand brushing, and I also like to smudge tool the edges so they retain more depth and aren't too harsh or sharp looking. Right away, I knew I had to use this fiery sunset, and figured nothing goes better with flames than some moths. Thanks to these moths being on a black background, I was able to place them super easily. I just went ahead and flipped the layer mode to screen. I definitely would not have had time to extract them by hand. So I actually like to do the majority of my color grading using a group filled with all kinds of different adjustment layers at the top of my layer stack, where it'll stay so it affects all images beneath it. I use the Memento shader brushes for my rim light. Highlights are always my favorite part to do, and I decided to go all in with a bright red this time around. By turning the snow overlays gray and black, I was able to instantly transform them into soot pieces. I absolutely love a multi-use resource, and this is definitely one of them. And using different size and focuses of these fire ember vector overlays was a lifesaver for adding quick depth and detail. We were on a time limit after all. With a pool of only about 20 images to choose from, I definitely had to get a bit crafty with the skin texture. But turns out tree bark works great for a flaky, charred skin effect. A combination of outer glow, some blend if adjustments, and the great texture from the shader brushes gave me the perfect inner glow my model needed. Some more soot, embers, and smoke later, the alarm rings and it's pencils down.
So the first thing I've got to say is that I'm amazed how different our works are. We use the same images and yet these two scenes couldn't be any more different. But beside that, this is just a beautiful artwork on its own. I love the colors you used here, this composition of warm, vibrant red and dark blue. And it was cool to see how you used that photo of a tree as a texture. That was very creative. I was also happy to see that we used the same technique to add the rim light with the shader brushes. They're very good for that, aren't they? Overall, I think it's a beautiful artwork that would look great on a cover of a book.
This is fantastic. Turning the moths into fireflies is not only something I would have never thought to do, but it's also done so well. And I love both fireflies and moths, so this one's a real winner for me. Also, combining all of those different landscape images together and it looks so seamless. As mainly a portrait artist, that never fails to impress me. It's mysterious, dramatic, and exactly what dark fantasy should be. Definitely nailed the genre. Absolutely fantastic. So as the Photoshop dust settles from this head-to-head battle, let us know your favorite image down below. And if you're looking to learn some photo effects like you've seen here today, why not check out some of the other excellent videos that Envato Tuts Plus has to offer. If you liked this video and would like to see more, consider giving us a like and even subscribing if you haven't already. And don't forget to click the little bell icon to be notified of all new videos, including tips, tricks, and tutorials. Happy designing! See you next time.